I'll skip right to the chase. It's 2023. This is my Toyota TRD off-road 4x4. It's a 2019. I've put about 25,000 miles on it. I've driven across the country from Seattle to LA to Phoenix, Nevada, Idaho, all over the place during the winter and the height of summer when it's blazing hot. And I don't like this truck. So that's the conclusion. I'm breaking the YouTube rule and I'm skipping right to that. And I'm just gonna tell you right off the bat, I don't like it. So you can stop watching right now if that's all you're looking for. That's my review of this truck. But if you want more details, I'll get into it. So before this, I owned a 2021 F-150 Tremor. Before that, I owned a 2019 Ford Ranger. That was a FX4. Before that, I had a 2016, a Subaru WRX. And I had a Lancer and a couple other things. So I've owned a lot of vehicles. I'm not a car reviewer. I actually own these. I put a lot of miles on them. I drive them in a wide range of conditions, in the mountains, snow, rain, everything. So I'm actually putting miles on these, and I'm actually going to give you my real experience that I have it with these vehicles. So let's get to this. I don't like it. It's really out of date, and I don't see why anybody in 2023 would be buying a new Toyota Tacoma. I could kind of understand that a used one, you'll save a bit of money. But if you're buying new, you're really spending new prices, even more than other mid-sized trucks, on a vehicle platform that's like a decade plus old. And that doesn't make sense to me. So a couple things I don't like. The seating position is really uncomfortable. It's more similar to a car than a truck. Your legs are a lot more forward in front of you instead of being kind of at an L shape down. And that's kind of uncomfortable on longer drives, even though I've driven like my WRX across country and it wasn't as uncomfortable as this. This one, whenever I drive it from Seattle to LA or LA to Seattle, my ass is literally sore for a week. And I've never had that experience with any other car. These seats are just so bad that my tailbone is like tender to the touch for days or even a week plus after a long drive with this. And that's kind of like nuts for a truck that's retailing new over $40,000. This isn't like a budget Econobox car. This is like a very expensive, for most people at least, a very expensive truck. And just to kind of talk about the things where they're just like skimping out and they're not really bothering putting effort into the truck, it still comes with rear drum brakes. And they said it's for off-road performance, but if that was really true, they would be putting drum brakes on the 4Runner, which they're not. They're not doing with this with any of the other vehicles. I really think Toyota's just cheaping out. And they're just getting away with it because these are the top selling mid-sized trucks and they can keep kind of just lagging behind the competition and nobody's really kind of calling them out on it, and people are still buying them, which is kind of nuts to me, even though I bought this one. I bought it used, so there's that. I think it might make sense for some people to buy these used, especially if you're someone like me where you can't afford the downtime. This is my only vehicle. I drive it from Seattle to LA and across the country pretty often, and if I break down, I need to be able to get parts quickly, and you're not able to do that with some of the newer trucks just because of supply chain issues, everything with COVID, all that type of stuff. There's tons of parts available for these. They're easy to work on. So I primarily bought this because I knew I can get it repaired quickly if something came up. I knew it would be reliable, more reliable than any other mid-sized truck. I'll give it that. But there comes a point where reliability can't just be the end all. It can't just you can't just keep relying on that at the expense of everything else. And there's probably a nice middle ground between reliability and performance. I'm getting pretty horrible MPGs on this. I'm getting between 16 to 18 miles per gallon, which is horrible, especially compared to my 2019 Ranger, where I was getting about 20 to 24 miles per gallon on that. It was a lot faster. It was a lot more fun to drive. This thing's kind of a dog. The only thing that makes this kind of enjoyable to drive is, I don't know if you can see that, but I do have a manual transmission in this. So that gives me a little bit of enjoyment. It's a little bit more fun to drive that. And I've heard pretty bad things about the automatic transmission in this, but even with the manual transmission, the V6, this thing's a bit of a dog. It's not quick. It's not like a spirited driving experience. And overall, I just don't really enjoy driving this truck very much. The bed, it feels a little bit smaller than my Ranger. I just really can't get over how outdated this is. For example, my 2021 F-150 Ranger, that was like 400 horsepower, 500 foot-pounds torque. I got about 18 to 20 miles per gallon in a full-size F-150 compared to this truck, where I'm getting like 16 to 18, and it's like 300 horsepower and like even less torque. So it's like you're getting 200 foot-pounds more torque with a full-size truck. You're getting a ton more horsepower, and you're getting better MPG, and you're getting way more capability. And okay, like I said, the F-150 wasn't reliable. I had a ton of problems with that F-150, but you could probably find a nice middle ground where it's like you're not talking about really horrible mileage with really horrible performance versus like really high performance and poor reliability. I just want something in the middle. And I think Toyota is going to be kind of hopefully refreshing this soon, and hopefully they'll kind of bring it more up to date and we'll get the reliability and better performance. But until that comes out, who knows? But we are reaching the end of the cycle right here. So you're starting to see GMC and Chevy come out with their new midsize trucks. They're already rolling off the line. Toyota's about to refresh this. Ford is already kind of refreshing the Ranger. So we're going to see how that turns out. But in the current generation, this guy's just like driving in circles. It's like he can't find his way out of this little parking lot. He's just really distracting me while I'm trying to film this video. But like I said, we're reaching the end of the cycle, and all the current midsize trucks are about to be refreshed, or they have been refreshed. Nissan just launched their own, even though it's like the refresh is kind of just bringing it up to this current generation. Toyota's been teasing the next generation. Ford is starting to work a little bit on the next generation. We're starting to see the next generation Ranger be released in other markets. And GMC, Chevy, they're starting to send their next generation off the line. They're already being like completed, and they're built, and they're going to be shipped to dealers soon. So we're ending the cycle for this current midsize generation. And if I had to say which one was my favorite, it's not this. So I really liked my Ranger, and if someone was buying a truck today in 2023, I really think your best buy is probably like a late 2019 or early 2020 model year Ford Ranger, just because that was pre-COVID. I don't think you should buy anything that was built during COVID. That's kind of why I went with this 2019. There's just so many issues, the supply chain issues, quality control issues with everything built during COVID. I'm on a ton of forums, and just everybody's having issues. And it's just like a crapshoot with anything built during that period, regardless of what manufacturer it is. It could be Ford or Toyota or whatever. So I really think the golden mid-size truck in this current generation is like that 2019, 2020 Ford Ranger. I really liked my Ranger. It was fun to drive. I hit a deer, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to, instead of waiting for it to get repaired, it would be to like move up to a mid-size truck, but that was a whole other ordeal. But I mean, if you could move up to a mid-size or a full-size trucks are actually a lot more utility. And if you can deal with the size of a full-size truck, you should probably just go with a full-size truck. They're not really that much more expensive. You get way more with them. The MPG is pretty comparable now to mid-size trucks, or even better in some cases. And the only really issue with it is parking. The problem is I live near Seattle, and I spend a lot of time in Seattle, and when I had the F-150, it was a real pain to get around Seattle, and a lot of parking garages it wouldn't fit in, and parking spaces, things like that. So I'm like kind of stuck with the mid-size just because of the parking issues. But if you can move it to full-size, I would recommend that. If you're stuck with mid-size, go with the F-150, go with the Ford Ranger. I think that's a better truck. If I had to rate them, it'd probably be like the Ranger, the Chevy, I can never remember the name of the Chevy mid-size truck, Colorado, or the Canyon, I think is the GMC equivalent of that. And then after that would be the Tacoma. I'm not really sure why these are so high selling, especially, I know it's a big aftermarket scene with the Toyota Tacomas, but the thing is, once you throw 33s or 35s on this, you're gonna be getting like 15 miles per gallon, which is ridiculous with a truck this size. And I know people say it's a truck, you shouldn't care about MPG. But the thing is, I do care about MPG. And it's not just MPG, but range. I don't want to be getting 250 miles per tank just because I have 33s on it. I don't want to be at the gas station all the time. And I think it's ridiculous when people complain that you shouldn't care about MPG with the truck, but at the same time they complain that the price of a truck has increased by like $1,000, $2,000 over the previous year. You're okay spending money on gas, but you're not okay spending money on a better truck, which makes no sense to me. I think that's like a weird, stupid truck flex, and I'm real tired of the whole you shouldn't care about MPG things if you have a truck. I care about it. I don't like being at the gas station. But yeah, like I said, there's just a ton of quirks with this truck. I'll show a video, but the clutch is really bad on this, especially when it's below 40 degrees. You'll press the clutch and release it, and it just takes forever for it to return up to its like normal position. It kind of lags behind, and then I bled the clutch. That didn't fix it. And then when I asked around, when I talked to the dealer, they're just like, that's just a Toyota thing. That's just a Tacoma thing. Just having a shitty clutch. That's just how it is when it gets cold. And I think that's kind of, you can't be doing that in 2023, especially when you have such good options in this, in the midsize category. The back seat is bad. In my Ranger, I even had people that are up to like 6'4" in the back seat of my Ranger, and they never really complained. And I always got compliments on the people that rode back there, just talking about how comfortable it is, how they were surprised about how roomy and just comfortable it was on these long drives. I have not gotten that type of compliment on this truck. Usually it's just people, you can tell they're not having a good time when you stuff a bunch of adults in the back seat of this. It does have more storage in my Ranger, but at the expense of, I guess, poor seating options. And I would take the better seating over the additional square foot of storage room. So I think that covers it. This is just an old truck with old capabilities. It is reliable. I think if you're just looking for reliability, something easy to work on, something that you're going to keep like 7+ years or maybe 200,000 miles, then sure, buy a used Tacoma. Don't buy a new one. But nobody should be buying a new one. And if you're not one of those people that need it forever or need something you want to work on and completely rebuild yourself, don't buy this. It's not a good truck. It's not good compared to what you have on the market right now. So I'll be keeping this right now just because I like not really having a big truck payment and not having to deal with it financially. So I mean, this is cheap, it's reliable, I don't have to think about it. But as soon as the opportunity comes where I can move into something a little bit more fun, something I actually enjoy driving and still has some reliability, I'm gonna be out of this truck. Or I might just keep it. If it financially makes sense, I could just always keep this truck and just have it as like a backup option. I might do that. Until then, I'm here with the Tacoma, and these are my thoughts on it. Don't buy one. I hope everybody's doing well, and I'll see you out there.